there's been a whole lot of, to do about after 9/11. David Travis basically decided that, you know, the cirrus clouds created by planes farting out chemicals make clouds. Now, I don't know if you guys follow this very closely, but I'm going to tell you like this. For the 15 years I've been doing this, there has always been the narrative from the science community, from the, FAA, from the airlines, from the debunkers. It's just water vapor. Chill out. And I've always maintained it's not condensation trails unless you know condensating on what. This is the most important part. This is the part that's lost on everybody. The chemtrails are black carbon covered in graphene filled with metals. Covered this many times on my channel. Not going to cover it tonight. Too much to talk about just about this contrails.org. So, when they realized that, water needs a particle. Exactamundo. Water needs a particle to stick to. That's called a cloud seed or a cloud condensation nuclei. Condensation trail, condensation nuclei. To make a cloud, you need something for the water to condense on. It doesn't just, stick to itself. Otherwise, it melts away. It's got to condense on it, get big enough, and then, despite what your personal beliefs are, I don't care how long you've believed this, whether you call it a chemtrail or a contrail, once it fans out and it's covering the sky, it's no longer a contrail. It's no longer a chemtrail. It is a cirrus cloud, an ice cloud made of 90s or 75% man-made metals as ice nuclei. This is undeniable. This is science. This is proven with hundreds and hundreds of studies. What's new is that they're admitting it out loud everywhere. All this year, every single article that I've been seeing, they're starting to say that part. That persistent contrails, that contrail-induced cirrus, water vapor condenses on soot, and that creates these clouds. That's, wow. It only took, 11 years for you guys to start admitting the part that I've been saying from the beginning. Bravo. 11 years. We finally gotten to, past the bull crap that it's just water vapor. No, it's water vapor sticking to highly toxic pollution. Period. All that stuff, the aluminum, the barium, the strontium, vanadium, molybdenum, calcium, the list goes on. All those metals inside black carbon soot, wrapped in graphene, covered in sulfuric acid, acid rain. All of this stuff matters. But yet, them admitting it, that's new. So after 9/11, they come to the realization that, hey, these clouds, these ice clouds that are being made, there may be a chance that they're trapping heat at the ground. And if they are trapping heat at the ground, that's a problem. Why? Climate cultists. Why? Carbon taxes. So the carbon cabal has come for the airline industry. So since the carbon cabal has come for the airline industry, they're trying to go, how can we save face? And the only way we can do that is by saying, let's get rid of our contrails. At least the ones like this. This is a single E3 Sentry AWACS airborne radar circling around the UK, making all of these cirrus clouds you see on this image came from a single plane covering all of that. This was during the contrails spreading into cirrus Cossack, which led to James Haywood making this statement that I read in front of the EPA in 2015 when I testified. But all of this came from a single source. The idea that I was looking for intent. Most people don't understand the idea of intent. If you're trying to solve a conspiracy theory, you gotta prove there's a conspiracy. What are these people conspiring to do? What is their goal? Do they say it out loud? And can you prove it? And all I needed was one word. That word was more. That word was more. Because what Ulrich Schumann said at the ICAO Colloquium on Aviation and Climate Change in 2010, less soot emissions. Why? Soot is black. Soot absorbs heat. Soot is a cloud condensation nuclei. Soot is responsible for making clouds that stick around. That's why. Less warming and more cooling contrails. Predictable for operational planning. Did you hear that? More cooling contrails. Predictable for operational planning. That, my friends, is intent. It was pollution. Let's turn it into a climate engineering solution. That is exactly what they are doing. That is exactly the plan. So, moving back over here, how did he come up with predictable for operational planning? Contrail Cirrus simulation and prediction tool. I interviewed the head of the ACCRI, which is the Aviation Climate Change Research Initiative at the Federal Aviation Administration. His name is Dr. Rangasai Halthori. He said right here, we would like to have more contrail-induced cirrus during the day and none during the night. Got it? There's that word again. More. Now I got two people saying more. We want more cooling contrails. So while you're all complaining, they're like double barrel middle finger. We're not going to stop making clouds because we want to cool the planet. So screw you. Period. More clouds by day, none by night. That way the heat escapes back into space. So I made an interesting little infographic about that right here. And you can see that basically there's two types of things going on here. There's incoming solar radiation management, where you reflect sunlight back to space. But then there's this other Earth radiation management where I put outgoing solar radiation or outgoing long wave radiation. OLR versus, incoming sunlight. All the quotes right there. Less warming, more cooling contrails. We would like to have more contrail-induced cirrus clouds during the day, none during the night. Oh, and, use some cirrus cloud thinning to melt those chemtrails away at night. This can be achieved if seeding, cirrus cloud seeding, or cirrus cloud thinning is limited to high latitude winters or nighttime seeding. None during the night. Nighttime seeding. All of these things are linked together. I'm a dot connecting mofo, and that's what I'm doing here. So I go on the Del Bigtree interview, knowing just these facts, and I'm telling him this is the plan. Okay? What did I see there? Vaporized soot is probably levitating horizontally instead downward due to artificially raised electrostatic field in the troposphere. Derek, in reality, it's more like you guys might not have saw that Derek Derek told me how to pronounce his first name, not his last name, so you're gonna have to forgive me on that one. But in reality, when David Keith back in 2010 wrote a paper called Photophoretic Levitation of Engineered Nanoparticles, he was specifically talking about creating a nanoparticle that would photophoretically levitate, meaning it is driven by light. It is that light heats this artificially created nanoparticle, and that causes it to levitate. Guess what black carbon is? It is a self-levitating black nanoparticle. So coincidentally, the soot coming out of planes that has the graphene coating with all the metals in it has been found as high as 18 kilometers in the stratosphere at a density of 10,000 per cubic centimeter. That is crazy. But that's for another time. Today, we're not talking about stratospheric aerosol injection from commercial aviation and their pollution. Tonight, we're focusing on them clouds. Them clouds everybody's mad about. Dirk's a good friend and a hell of a researcher. You guys, smog refugees on Telegram. Look them up. Hold on one second. Children check. Like, I can hear my children yelling at Call of Duty through my own mic. Anyway, so after the Del Bigtree interview, the next thing I hear, God, man, I could get lost in the chat talking about Betts Dearborn. Betts Dearborn actually came up with the, and GE Water came up with the Spec 8 8Q462 fuel additive, which is the plus 100 additive, which is called a HITS additive, high thermal stability additive. It's the triple cocktail of chemicals that all NATO, planes use. All military NATO planes use this HITS additive. It's called a plus 100 additive, but it's from Betts Dearborn and GE Water. I have the smartest chat, man. I love you guys. I see things and I can't help it. I just get y'all you're messing with my tism right now. So I need to focus, or this video will be 3 hours long. So after the interview with Del Bigtree, that's when this was brought to my attention. The Greener by Design Contrail Avoidance Group. And they basically said the second idea was earlier in the day, deliberately flying into ice supersaturated regions in order to form contrails to reflect sunlight, i.e. cooling contrails. Wait, that's like the exact same thing that he said right there. Cooling contrails. Wait, that's exactly what's on contrails.org's map. Cooling contrails. Oh, I'm seeing a connection here. Are you starting to see the connection here? I mean, I know that I'm right like 99.8% of the time, but damn, these dots are connecting like a mofo right now, wouldn't you say? So they came out with this, this meeting, and both options had been proposed by Herman Manstein. Read that also. Manstein, Herman, and Ulrich Schumann have written papers together. Ulrich Schumann is the one who proposed the ICAO, COSIP and all that. We're going to get to that in just a minute anyway. But anyway, it emerged that half the group thought both options, cooling and warming, avoiding warming and creating cooling, both options should be explored, but half the group foresaw political reluctance consider deliberately forming contrails on the grounds that it could be considered geoengineering. That's because it is. Like when it's pollution and it's making clouds and you're not trying to intervene in that, that's just ice supersaturated regions, that's water bodies in the sky, contrail forming areas in the sky, and a jet plane putting a bunch of exhaust into it and spewing out water, making clouds. That's pollution. The second you try to change that outcome, that is a geoengineering program. That is intentionally modifying the climate. That is trying to affect the temperature of the planet, and we calls that geoengineering. That is exactly what's going on. And they admitted so in their own documentation. Contrail avoidance group at first meeting split over forming cooling contrails. Is this geoengineering? You know damn well it's geoengineering. Decided to sidestep the issue of geoengineering and form a geoengineering governance subgroup. Recent work in the margins suggests cooling contrails are worth investigating. Interesting stuff indeed. So we get to the story today with Bill Gates and his cohorts. They are trying to block the sun intentionally using contrails to cool the planet. This conclusion I came to back in 2013. You can see the article. The very first article I wrote on chemtrails was Contrails and the Lies Between the Lines, dated November 18th, 2013. Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. That's where I started. This is actually a photo of Hurricane Sandy, October 26, 2012, of me taking a photo of them chemtrails as, Hurricane Sandy was rolling in. Can't make this stuff up. And the conclusion of that article was, the scientists are still scratching their heads. So why are you so damn confident about what's going on? And you can see all of it right here in the picture. Contrail-induced cirrus, what we understand, what we don't understand, well understood, not understood, not understood. Linear contrail, climate impact, radiative forcing, linear contrail, geographic coverage depends on, but we're not well understood on this part. So yeah, that's right. Uncertain, significant issues, poorly understood, not well understood, not understood at all. Potential cloud effects, unknown. This was 2013. Boy, we've come a long way since then. But you can read some of my old stuff. And then I testified at the EPA. You can watch that video yourself. You can read my entire speech, because the entire speech with references, all the numbers are in here. So as you go through, you'll see number 12. You scroll down here to the bottom, and number 12 is right there. There's Jim Haywood and, all the stuff that I just talked to you about. And then the Del Bigtree high wire video is right here embedded in the article. So if you haven't watched it, you can before moving on. Anyway, less warming, more cooling contrails. We want more clouds by day, none by night. Avoid warming contrails, creating cooling contrails. Well, they have created contrails.org. May I proudly introduce you to the Reviate? Reviate? I don't know what that word is. Come on, man. Come on. But anyway, we can drastically cut aviation's climate impact. Contrails cause 1 to 2% of global warming. All right. For those who don't know this, 83.573 repeating percent of statistics are made up on the spot. They don't have a freaking clue how much global warming is being created by contrail cirrus. Period. End of story. I don't believe it. And Mary, I hear you. I was told Del Bigtree's a controlled op. Before I went on the show, I was told after I did the interview with him, he's, a scam artist. He's a government shill, all that stuff. Regardless, Alex Jones and InfoWars interviewed me when I spoke at Ed Griffin's conference, G. Edward Griffin's conference. And I told the person behind the camera, this will never be shown on InfoWars, as I held up my iPad showing them all the spy facilities on the planet of the Five Eyes. And they looked shocked. But it never was shown. Del Bigtree actually, their team reached out to me They let me say exactly what I wanted to say. They did not edit out anything that I did say. They went the extra mile to put everything in there that I said and verify it and put it all out there. So I don't follow, all of the other stuff that he's done, but on this topic, he allowed me the opportunity to get in front of so many people that had never heard any of this before, and I will forever be grateful for that. So despite what anybody believes about Del Bigtree, my personal experience is most professional podcast interview I've ever done. There was so much preparation that went into it, so much preparation that went into the video before it was released, and so much respect given after the release of it, even though there were people literally throwing a shit fit in the comment section. I got to give it to them. So I'm not saying, he's not a shill. He is the only huge channel that has ever extended a hand and said, hey, we'll have you on and we'll let you say your piece, and then did not censor it or go back on their word. So there's that. That's my side of the story. But back to this story. Percentages made up on the spot. Almost all of them. Anyway, contrails have a substantial warming effect on the climate. Wait a minute, you just said 1 to 2% global warming. Contrails cause 1 to 2% of global warming. Contrails have a substantial warming effect on the climate. Is 1 to 2% substantial? Let me know in the comments, because I'm not even a quarter of the way down the front page of this, and it's already like, what the hell? Like, you're contradicting yourself already. So of course they show, very similar to the graphic that I did, sunlight getting reflected, some hits the ground, gets, tries to go back to the moon, but it gets reflected back at the ground, the things I was talking about. Anyway, their claim is that only 5% of planes have to adjust their routes for significant climate benefits, that 80% of global warming from planes can be avoided if they just reroute 5% of the flights. That's all they have to do to get less warming, more cooling contrails. And who we are from Breakthrough Energy. Who is Breakthrough Energy? And why do they have this Contrail Explorer contrail map? This is at contrails.org. Well, if you come over here to Contrails map, you can actually see as you progress through the day, orange is bad. Those are heat trapping this happens to be right over my house, by the way. I'm right here in South Carolina. So in any one of these flights, you can click on them, and some of them will say moderate warming right here. And if I click on that, it'll actually chart the entire flight out. So this is Air France at, about 30,000, let's say that's 34,000 feet, jumps up to 36,000 feet a couple times there, then eventually makes it up to 36,000 feet. So here, and right about here is where they start to hit the warming patch. Then another warming patch, followed by a cooling patch, followed by a warming patch, and then on to its destination where, warming, cooling. So they're basically, they're making predictions about, are these, contrails that are turning into cirrus clouds, are they good for geoengineering? Are they bad for geoengineering? That's what this is all about here. And you can just hit play on the thing and it'll, animate the whole day. You'll see the daytime come over, and you'll see right up here in this section. Now we've got a bunch of blue mixed with a bunch of red. Going to get real hard to differentiate. Now we're over here at the daytime during Europe. Oh, look, this is all good cooling geoengineering. Oh, but then it turns dark, and watch how quickly. Oh, now it's very red. Ooh, bad nighttime chemtrails. covering like damn near all of Europe. So this is the kind of thing they got going on. And I wanted to know more about the data. Who did this and why? So, of course, you start here. Attribution. This map of supporting models was developed by Breakthrough Energy. Let's go ahead and let's talk about Breakthrough Energy. Breakthrough Energy, yep, that's them Bill Gates. And when I actually looked it up, who is, Breakthrough Energy, like in total, it was even creepier. I'm going to skip past this for now because we're just talking about them. Who's Breakthrough Energy? Well, it's this group is spearheaded by Bill Gates, who previously announced a personal $2 billion investment and includes Jeff Bezos, Mark Benioff, Michael Bloomberg, Richard Branson, George Soros, Mark Zuckerberg. I don't recognize these other names, so I'm just going to move on. But I mean, when you got a group that includes Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Michael Bloomberg, Branson, Soros, and Zuckerberg, I mean, if that don't set off red flags, I don't know what will. Oh, wait, maybe this guy. Quick question to the chat. How many people, we're going to find out how educated the chat is real quick. How many people know who this guy, first person to say the name of the individual on the screen, who is a mentored, who is a member of Breakthrough Energy, who is their chief scientist? Does anybody know? Got to be somebody in there. I know there's a delay. with YouTube. I think it's like 30 seconds. Could be as much as 2 minutes. Because when I go live, it can. And we're not talking Barbie, people. That's Ken. Dreamreal 756, you win. We have an educated person in the room. That's Ken Caldera. If you don't know who Ken Caldera is, boy, you're about to find out. So I was looking at, who's our team? And on their Our Team page, I'm just like scrolling and I'm like, okay, look at these people. My God, what is this? I mean, wow, look at all these bright young venture capitalists. It's like a sea of white. I mean, with the occasional, they're not all white, but damn, it's a very, very white man. He is too good looking to be on here. What are you doing here? Anyway, so, and then I'm scrolling and I'm like, no, there he is. There's Ken. He's back. He's been so quiet lately. He just hasn't said anything at all. So here's Ken Caldera. And what do they say about old good Ken Caldera? Well, they say a lot of nice things about him. Because why not? I mean, he's a pretty likable guy, right? Right? I mean, pretty likable. I'm not going to read the whole spiel. It's linked. You can go look it up yourself. But Ken has a wide spectrum approach to analyzing the world's energy and climate systems, like long-term evolution of climate and geochemical cycles, climate intervention proposals. If you have not heard the term climate intervention, that is climate engineering. That is geoengineering. Ken Caldera and David Keith are the top two geoengineers on the planet. They have been since the get-go. When I started my journey on this process in 2012 through it's like 2011 through 2013, I was a member of Ken Caldera's geoengineering group, which is also run by Andrew Lockley. And I debated Ken Caldera regularly. He's a very condescending prick, to say the least. For those of you who don't know, I was in the emergency room Sunday because I had strep throat so bad. So if I keep coughing, know that I got my voice back. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So before that, Ken worked as an environmental scientist and physicist for Lawrence Livermore National Lab. Really? What did he do at Lawrence Livermore? And I've talked about this in the past. Ken actually worked with Edward Teller, Lowell Wood, and Roderick Hyde. Edward Teller invented the hydrogen bomb. Lowell Wood is known as Dr. Evil, and Roderick Hyde sounds like Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know much about that guy. But they are the people that came up with geoengineering in its current form. In 1997, they wrote the paper on mimicking Mount Pinatubo's eruption for stratospheric aerosol injection to inject sulfur into the stratosphere. In 1999, they had Ken Caldera do computer models to simulate what a geoengineered world was at Lawrence Livermore National Lab. So they even mentioned that on the Breakthrough Energy website, little, profile on him. Before 2005, Ken worked as an environmental scientist and physicist for Lawrence Livermore National Lab. Prior to graduate school, Ken developed software for the New York's financial district for clients including the New York Stock Exchange and First Boston. He's got a PhD and a Master of Science degrees in Atmospheric Sciences from New York University and a Bachelor BA degree in philosophy from Rutgers. So he's a philosopher, a philosophizing geoengineer. Now that we know all about him, let's just hear about him in his own words. Hey, take it away, Wow, that sounds annoying. It's not going to last long.
I used to work at Lawrence Livermore National Lab, and I once participated in a meeting where we all sat around the room and thought about how could we manipulate geophysical systems to use it as a weapon. The meeting was about weaponizing geophysical interventions. That means, could you somehow interfere in Earth functioning in a way that you could use it as a military weapon? Could you change climate? What could you do in terms of manipulating the sort of Earth's physical systems as a weapon? Well, some of the ideas were okay. Maybe we could blow up hydrogen bombs, underwater, offshore, and make a tidal wave that would go over a city. And the result was, well, isn't it easier just to drop the hydrogen bombs on the city? Now you could imagine, though, say putting pathogens in a cloud. Let the cloud go over somewhere, and then would rain down on your enemy and create, do chemical or term warfare in this kind of way. And that might work against something that we say is big as the former Soviet Union, where, you could be pretty sure that within a few days that cloud would rain out. I believe this is in relation to the idea of chemtrails, which is a currency on the web. I can say a few things about that. That I work at a nuclear weapons lab, Lawrence Livermore National Lab, and working with Edward Teller, who's often regarded as the father of the hydrogen bomb, and Lowell Wood, we attempted to get funds to do geoengineering research, and we were unable to get any support for that activity. And so I figured Edward Teller, working in a nuclear weapons lab, can't get money for it. There's probably no such program.
More money for the Pentagon when its own auditors admit the military cannot account for 25% of what it already spends.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
$2.3 trillion with a T. That's $8,000 for every man, woman, and child in America.
Fiscal year 1999, 2.3 trillion missing. Fiscal year 2000, 1.1 trillion missing. And DOD is the #1 reason why the government can't balance its checkbook.
I also do not believe that George Bush and his administration cared enough about climate change to undertake secret programs to try to offset climate change. If he was going to do something secret, I think it would be kidnapping people and torturing them. But I don't think it's about addressing the climate change situation. And so I think what people are seeing are ordinary contrails and imagining that it's part of a geoengineering program, but I do not believe there is any such program.
Hansen is arguably the world's leading researcher on global warming. He's the head of NASA's top institute studying the climate. But this eminent scientist says that the Bush administration is restricting who he can talk to and editing what he can say. Politicians, he says, are rewriting the science. Well, there'll be none of that tonight, because James Hansen is telling what he knows on 60 Minutes.
In my more than 3 decades in the government, I've never witnessed such restrictions on the ability of scientists to communicate with the public.
There are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
And the unknown unknowns are why geoengineering should be illegal. Because the known unknowns are creepy enough. The known knowns are it'll kill people and change rainfall patterns worldwide. That's a big problem. But as you can clearly see, Ken Caldera, peachy guy, got a great start hanging out with people talking about, hey, could we make tidal waves? Could we make pathogen-filled clouds and do germ warfare over Russia? These are the kinds of coffee table conversations going on over at Lawrence Livermore National Labs in the 90s when Ken Caldera was there. Now, of course, he was confronted by Patrick Roddy, one of the other gentlemen that accompanied me to Washington, D.C., Patrick, he testified as well at the EPA hearing. And Patrick had a close encounter of the special kind with Ken Caldera about the video that you just heard, where at first he denied that he ever said such a thing. Then he said, well, it was taken out of context. But this whole video is like 14 minutes long. I don't want to play the whole thing, but I'll just give you a taste.
Our next question to Climate One, welcome.
Hello, my name is Patrick Roddy. All the discussion, public discussion about solar radiation management has been...
I'm going to go to this part. So that's actually Patrick Roddy right there. Shout out to Patrick. If you're seeing this, buddy, we miss you. Hope you're doing well, brother. He's kind of out of the game. A lot of people have come and gone over the years. Patrick was one of the good ones. Miss you, dude. But anyway, there's this.
Well, let's go. Our next question.
So you said you're committed to truth,
Yeah.
right? When we last spoke, actually no, 2 times back in Berkeley,
Yeah.
and I played you the recording of your interview when you said that you were in a meeting at Lawrence Livermore Laboratories discussing how to weaponize...
No, I don't how to. I think...
No, so you do remember it then?
No, what I remember there was a discussion, but you have you ever sat in a meeting and discussed weaponization of climate alteration?
So you do remember...
No,
you remember our discussion?
Answer my question first. Have you ever sat in a meeting and discussed whether it would be possible to weaponize any kind of environmental alteration?
Not at a weapons lab.
No. I'm asking you, did you ever sit in a meeting and discuss whether it would be possible to weaponize any kind of environmental alteration?
I have discussed I've discussed the Army, the U.S. Air Force's document, owning weather by 2025.
Do you remember the second half of what I said? I know that you type.
You now remember this. You now remember now. This is good. Okay.
that no.
You had no knowledge
okay,
before.
Look,
Continue,
why don't you
please.
shut the fuck up, okay? No, I'm saying this. You don't let me talk.
You now remember this. You now remember now. This is good. Okay.
That,
you had no knowledge
okay,
before.
Look,
Continue,
why don't
please.
you shut the fuck up, okay? Because I'm saying this because you don't let me talk. I know you're recording this like little clips, right?
Yep. I never.
Anyway, I think you can tell the temperament of the man right there. He's pretty heated about having this conversation, and he's not having it. This is the chief scientist at Breakthrough Energy. This is Ken Caldera, the geoengineer. For those who didn't know him before, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. Anyway, I'm dating myself. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, Fallout Shelter's still out there, SL. He retweeted something I did like today or the day before. Is he not making videos? I don't. Honestly, you guys, y'all probably heard me say this before. I rarely ever watch anybody else's stuff. But I got my eyes on a certain specific channel right now that I think I'm going to do a reaction to this Sunday. So look forward to that, because I'm hearing a whole lot of crap that we need to deal with. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, so getting back to this thing, all of my suspicions were confirmed. You got Bill Gates, you got all the Zuckerberg, the George Soros. These are all the people who are behind Breakthrough Energy, and Breakthrough Energy funded this contrail map to decide where and when to geoengineer, because that's what this is all about. If you go back to the screen and you scroll out a bit, they got a map feature over here. You can click map layers and then potential contrail regions. So what they're actually doing here is they're showing not just the flights and where the cooling and warming contrails are, but if you turn this feature on, it'll show you the ice supersaturated regions. So these are the regions where when planes fly through them, the website's been running kind of slowly. Like, I got a gigabyte per second fiber, and it didn't make a difference. It took this long for it to happen on my phone as well. So it's clearly their website having to generate all this. But if you look at it now you can actually see all of these white areas. These are the water bodies in the sky. These are the ice supersaturated regions. Any plane flying through these areas are going to create contrails that turn into cirrus clouds. This is the science. This is true. This has been true since the 1940s. It's true today. And that doesn't sit well with a lot of people that want to believe that every plane has a pump and a pipe on it. And every pilot has a chemtrail switch. But this is the reality. I mean, here we're looking at reality. This Climate Viewer is where conspiracy meets reality. If you did not know that, it was a catchphrase on my website for a very long time. It's still the truth. Where conspiracy meets reality. So how do they take advantage of this? Knowing where they can create the contrails, figuring out, is it going to be heating or cooling? Is the airline CEOs going to get carbon credits or carbon taxes? And if they can make cooling contrails, carbon credits. But if they keep making heating, trapping contrails, according to the climate cult, the CO2 cabal, then carbon credits. That's the trade-off there. So heating, carbon taxes, cooling, carbon credits, they make more money. What do you think's going to happen? There's an old saying, money is the answer. Now, what is the question? That is the way the government always thinks. That's the way large corporations think. Money's the answer. What's the question? What is the question? what are you going to do about the fact that you make more pollution than any human, any cow, any of that stuff, and you block sunlight, and you're raining toxic chemicals all over everybody on the planet, and you don't want to be regulated because the same World Economic Forum, Davos flying mother you-know-whats that are in breakthrough energy all own private jets, and the last thing they want is any kind of regulations on their private jets restricting where they can travel, while simultaneously supporting Agenda 2030 and so, saying, travel restrictions on the plebes, you regular useless eaters out there. That's in order, and probably they'll use the warming contrails as one of the reasons why, because flight's bad because contrails create warming and we need to avoid that. Meanwhile, all of their planes, are flying in the stratosphere, so they're not making clouds at all. Whole nother story there. But to just, drive this home, we started with Ulrich Schumann, and we started with what he said and his contrail cirrus prediction tool. So I wanted to, really look into it. So I'm looking here and it says, these models and forecast contrail cirrus and resulting climate impact originated from the DLR Institute of Atmospheric Physics. Guess where Ulrich Schumann works? The DLR Institute of Atmospheric Physics. So of course, I was like, well, this seems pretty damn obvious. That's COSIP. Okay? That's got to be COSIP. So I'm looking at it and I see, this DLR thing. DLR Atmospheric Physics, they have to be talking about Ulrich Schumann and his COSIP model. I say to myself, already knowing the answer. So I check their code on GitHub. Right here, open link in new chat. Going to their GitHub, no, not the picture. You go right here, cosip.py. And this is their GitHub for their contrail cirrus PyContrails, which is a Python script. For those who don't know, I'm a programmer. I am, because I created Climate Viewer 3D, all my website. I coded it myself. But then I go looking deep in the reads, and I go into PyContrails /models/ COSIP. That's pretty obvious. And inside this COSIP Python script, what did they update it today? No. That's not right. There it is. Class COSIP model element. Contrail cirrus prediction model COSIP. Published by Ulrich Schumann, DLR Institute of Atmospheric Physics. Right there. That's, shut up, dude. Echoplex be like, oh snap, Haxor. You know what Python is, bro. Anyway, so in his Python class, under the models section, you can come back here to the models, and you see COSIP, you see COSIP grid. So clearly, this is all based on his COSIP thing. But what's more interesting is when you come back here to their contrail cirrus modeling and mitigation repository, you also see this 2023 04 PyContrails workshop, and then you see 2024 06. Oh, that's like this friggin' month. It literally says June 19th, 2024. That's next Wednesday, I believe. And you come in here, and what do you see? You see agenda.pdf. And, oh yeah, what does that say? We can read it out loud, people. Google, 3rd floor, Buckingham Palace Road, London. Google Meet joining info. Here's the Meet info. Or dial in. Hey, what you guys do with this information is your own business. You didn't get this from me. But yes, there is a link right there to join their Google Meet, and they will be talking about all of this. Observations of contrail formation, presentation on same thing here by Airbus. They've got people from Eurocontrol are going to be there. Google's, this guy's representing Google's Contrail Bench. I could show you that, but I don't want to like bore the tears out of all of you. I nerd out on all this, so I've looked at all of this, previous to writing the article and all that. And you just see that, what all this is going on down here. Observations of climate forcing, new forecast and planning approaches. This is all about contrail control. Oh, but I thought chemtrails was a conspiracy. Is it? Would I be wrong for just for you special people out there in special land if I were to post the link to that agenda.pdf and share it with the world? Only for the chatters. Just for you guys. I'll be there. Let's see how long I last. But anyway. Yeah, so when you go to that and you realize that Google AI helping airlines, it makes more sense. How AI is helping airlines mitigate climate impact of contrails. The Google research team has teamed up with American Airlines and Breakthrough Energy. Oh, it's right there to bring together huge amounts of data like satellite imagery, weather, and flight path data, and used AI to develop a contrail forecast map to test if pilots can choose routes that avoid creating contrails. Well, now. Little bit of inside ballpark. I'm actually in contact with a pilot right now from an American-based airline, and she and I have been talking about this very thing right here. Now, there's actually a financial incentive for planes to fly higher for the CEO, for the airline, and for the pilots. Because dollars per gallon per mile flown. If they fly higher, they burn less gas, but they're in the stratosphere, which creates geoengineering, not clouds, not contrails turning into cirrus clouds, whitening the sky, milky white skies. That is what Ken Caldera and Edward Teller, Lowell Wood, Roderick Hyde, that's what they were talking about in 1997. Stratospheric aerosol injection. Putting those chemicals in the stratosphere. Planes are doing that all the time. Every underline, every private jet is doing that. Because private jets are always at 45,000 feet. Almost exclusively. So, this is where it gets weird. Because the higher you fly, the more radiation the pilots and passengers get. So above flight level 360, which is 36,000 feet, as you start to go up in altitude, you get more galactic cosmic radiation. Therefore, pilots are dying of cancer at an earlier and earlier age because of the amount of radiation they're receiving because of how high they're flying. So riddle me this. How are you going to convince pilots in real time to avoid making warming contrails when even with their current map that they have up, and you can see this yourself, if you look at their current map that's up right now, this is showing June 13th, okay? And it goes to the end of June 13th. Let me go back here. Does it actually show the 14th? It shows the 14th at 1 a.m. So this is not a future model. This isn't even a freaking today model at this point. Today is the 14th. This is showing 1 o'clock in the morning at the latest. I'll refresh the page. Maybe it's updated. I highly doubt it. But how far does it go? Let it do its little load thing real quick. Loading up the datas. We're almost there. And we're there. So where does this end up? It ends up at 2 o'clock now. So it's roughly, I'm not a mathematician, but 20 hours behind. So this thing is taking 20 hours to render stuff. It's from the past. It's not today, right now, and it's not in the future. So how are pilots going to use this information as, a forecast thing? As I'm about to go fly from here to there. And I want to avoid making warming contrails. Well, guess what? They obviously are going to have, this is for the public to see. Okay. This is a dog and pony show. This is CGI. Okay. SL, you guys like chemtrails? Like, what the hell kind of question is he? What even is that question? No, nobody likes chemtrails. Chemtrails are contrails are the same thing. A condensation trail is water condensing on chemicals. Echoplex. I love chemtrails. Of course you do. You love to troll people. It's fucking hilarious. Oh my God. Chemtrails are a trail of chemicals that water sticks to and makes cirrus clouds. Condensation trails condense on chemicals that make cirrus clouds. They're the same damn thing. They are the same damn thing. You cannot convince me otherwise. I have never seen a pump, pipe, or bottle that I could not, find the original image of, and it had nothing to do with any of the crap that anybody ever claimed. Every single chemtrail whistleblower pilot that's ever spoken was completely full of shit. I mean, 100% full of shit. You're not gonna make me laugh again, bro. I'm ignoring you now. See, like, you feed a troll and then he just oh my God. I don't know Captain Carl. You'll have to send me that one. But there are all these pilots out there claiming to be whistleblowers, and basically they're just parroting shit that they heard on the internet. Broken Bear says, you are full of shit. Maybe I am. Prove it. I mean, I don't really, at the end of the day, my job is not to change any of your minds. I'm not here because I think I'm going to somehow change the world. I don't have a God complex. I do, however, have an effect on scientists and policymakers. I know this for a fact. Why? Because I talk to them on the phone. Because they email me. Because I'm always fucking right. And at the end of the day, I don't have to convince any of you people watching this, right now. And I use the you people. And I meant it. If you watch my previous video with Scott and Carrie, Chris and Carrie show, I don't give a fuck what your opinions are. Honestly, like, you can tell me to screw off and it will not change my day whatsoever. I am just intellectually curious, and I'm going to tell you, based on the evidence that I have right now, what I believe, and nobody can pay me any money to say anything different. There's no amount of money that's going to make me tell you something I don't honestly believe. And everything that I'm saying, I back up with receipts. Otherwise, my ass wouldn't still be here, because people would have left me a long time ago, because I would be clearly full of shit. Now, of course, I could be much more scary and make a lot more money, by just making very clickbaity titles and scaring the shit out of you people all the time. But I think that arming you with the information, I'm seeing it start to, except the swear jar. Yeah, there's that. I've done really good. I have not, you know, I haven't, you know, cursed hardly at all through this. Other things that you don't rage delete your account every year or so, like, yeah, I don't do that. My accounts have been around for years, like, and I don't take back the stuff I say, you know, like, famously, for those who don't know Echoplex Media, you guys, you know, you can, he's on, Twitch for some reason. When I went to the EPA and I went to go give my testimony, I actually sent it 2 places. I sent it to Mick West's, you know, metabunk.org, contrailscience.com, Mick West, Darth Vader of chemtrails. I sent it to his debunker group, and then I sent it to Echoplex Media's Kaku Chemtrails Are Killing Us group. And I said, here's my speech that I'm going to give to the EPA. Show me where I'm wrong. Neither group could show me I was wrong at all. It just devolved into ad hominem personal attacks all the way down. Very famously, in what had to be at least a 400 comment thread on the Facebook group Kaku, Echoplex Media, who's in chat right now, I know it's not your group. You're one of the admins. None of the admins are you? Okay, well, anyway, you're in the damn group. Doesn't matter. So, but you were there and you know what I'm about to say. So very famously, during that entire thing, they're like, you just make money off of people by saying the word chemtrail, but you don't even believe in chemtrails. And I said, I think, and I'm paraphrasing, I think I'm going to get this right. At worst, I'm better at punking chemtards than you. At best, I'm turning chemtrail conspiracy believers into contrail activists. I stand by that to this day. I own it. I believe that chemtrail and contrail, they're synonymous. They're the same thing. I believe that people are honestly fooled by these hucksters on the internet that are constantly bringing up fake ass, you know, whistleblowers, which if you understand manipulation and you understand language, you understand slave speak, it's very clear that when a guy like the Harp Report says, a friend of mine who has a pilot friend told him that the secret geoengineering program that the military is running is called, wait for it, Operation Indigo Skyfold. The same Harp Report guy then said, and I'm paraphrasing, a guy I know knows a guy who said that chemtrails are coal fly ash. This is the way these things start, and they stick around forever. And people don't know how they started or where they started, except for me, because I remember everything, and I was there when it happened. And it's still happening all the time. These, you know, straw men, these boogeymen that people keep throwing up there are detracting from the real agenda that the climate cabal, these World Economic Forum billionaires, Breakthrough Energies, Ken Caldera, they're literally like admitting what I've been saying for 10 years now on a website called contrails.org. They're admitting it in public. You can go to my Substack, climateviewer.substack. You can go to my website, climateviewer.com/geoengineering, climateviewer.com/cirrus clouds matter. Do your research. Research it for yourself. Everything you ever heard about chemtrails, every conspiracy about it, the aluminum, the barium, and all the things, that's in the jet fuel. It's always been there. Nobody is focusing on that. You want to see something funny, completely freaking off topic, but funny nonetheless. Let me go to X real quick and see if I can find it real fast, because a whole bunch of people are making a big deal out of this thing that I tweeted, and I think it's hilarious.